Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1984 United States Liberty 1 cent. Yes, the classic Lincoln penny, and exploring its history, features, and most importantly, its value. So whether you're a newbie or a seasoned collector, stick around because this video has a lot to offer. The 1984 Lincoln cent, also known as the Liberty 1 cent, is part of a long-running series that honors one of America's most beloved presidents, Abraham Lincoln. The design was originally introduced in 1909 to mark Lincoln's 100th birthday. Fast forward to 1984, and this penny was still being minted primarily for circulation, but it also attracted attention from collectors. At first glance, it looks like any other penny, right? But there's more to this small coin than meets the eye. The obverse, or front side, features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has remained largely unchanged for over a century. The reverse side of the 1984 penny shows the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of liberty and honor. A quick fun fact: the 1984 penny was one of the last years before the mint changed the composition of pennies from mostly copper to primarily zinc with a thin copper coating in 1982. But since 1984 pennies are mostly zinc, their intrinsic metal value is quite low compared to pre-1982 copper pennies. There are three types of 1984 pennies, depending on where they were minted: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins typically don't have a mint mark, Denver coins are marked with a D, and San Francisco proof coins have an S mint mark. The San Francisco proof pennies, which were specially made for collectors, tend to be shinier and in higher grades because they didn't circulate. Alright, the million-dollar question, or should I say, the few cents question: what's the value of a 1984 Liberty 1 cent? If your 1984 penny is just a regular circulated coin, it's typically worth face value, meaning 1 cent. Uncirculated coins, those that are crisp and look like they just came off the press, can be worth around 10 to 30 cents. Proof coins, especially those from the San Francisco Mint, can fetch around $1 to $3 depending on condition. So, unless you have an uncirculated or proof version, your 1984 penny isn't going to make you rich, but it's still a cool piece of American history. The value can increase based on several factors. Coins with no scratches, dents, or discoloration command higher prices. Some mint errors or varieties can be more valuable. For example, double die errors or unusual striking mistakes. Coins that collectors actively seek tend to have higher prices. If you're looking to identify a 1984 penny, just look for the date 1984 on the front. Check for the mint mark under the date. If you don't see one, it's from Philadelphia. A small D means Denver, and S means San Francisco. Also, if you want to start a collection, make sure you store your pennies properly to avoid damage. Coin holders, albums, or even small plastic flips work great. So, there you have it, the full scoop on the 1984 United States Liberty 1 cent. While most are just worth face value, they're a great way to connect with American history and start your coin collection. Before we talk about the value of the 1984 Liberty 1 cent, let's take a quick journey into its fascinating history. The story of the Liberty 1 cent goes all the way back to 1909, when the U.S. Mint first introduced the Lincoln cent to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. It was the first time a real person, instead of an allegorical figure like Liberty, appeared on an American coin. The designer, Victor David Brenner, created a profile portrait of Lincoln that has since become one of the most enduring and recognizable coin designs in the world. This design wasn't just about honoring Lincoln, it also marked a shift in American coinage toward more artistic and realistic portraits. For decades, this penny design stayed largely the same, with some updates to the reverse side. By 1959, the reverse side changed from the wheat ears design to the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. This is the same design you'll find on the 1984 penny. Now, the 1984 penny itself is part of the post-copper era. In 1982, due to rising copper prices, the mint switched the penny's core material from mostly copper to mostly zinc with a thin copper plating. This change helped keep production costs down while maintaining the penny's traditional look. The 1984 Liberty 1 cent continued this legacy, minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and circulated widely across the United States. It represents a small but meaningful piece of American history, connecting us to Lincoln's legacy and the evolution of U.S. coinage. Now that we've talked about the history, let's get into one of the most important factors for any coin collector: the condition of your 1984 Liberty 1 cent. Coins can look very different depending on how much they've been handled, how long they've been in circulation, and how well they've been preserved. For the 1984 penny, condition is key to determining its value. Only slight wear on the highest points of the design, the coin still has much of its original detail. No signs of wear from circulation. The coin looks brand new, with sharp details and original mint luster. This is the grade that can fetch higher prices. An uncirculated 1984 penny, especially in higher mint state grades like MS 65 or above, can be worth significantly more than a penny you find in your pocket or on the sidewalk. If you think you have a high-grade 1984 penny, it might be worth having it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC, which can certify its condition and help you get the best price if you decide to sell. When handling coins, always try to hold them by the edges to avoid fingerprints and oils that can damage the surface. Store your coins in proper holders, like coin flips, albums, or airtight containers, and keep them away from moisture and extreme temperatures. Remember, in coin collecting, condition really matters. It can mean the difference between a penny worth just a cent and one that's worth several dollars or more. Today, we're diving deep into a classic, the 1981 United States Liberty 1 cent, commonly known as the Lincoln penny. What's it worth? How rare is it? And should you be keeping an eye out for one? Let's find out. The 1981 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which started all the way back in 1909. Featuring the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, this penny is familiar to almost every American. But what about the 1981 Lincoln penny specifically? Is it just another everyday coin, or does it hold special value for collectors? Let's break it down. The Lincoln cent design remained consistent from 1959 to 2008, with the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The 1981 penny was minted at two locations: Philadelphia, which doesn't have a mint mark, and Denver, which carries the letter D. The mintage numbers for both are quite high. Over 4 billion coins were made in Philadelphia and about 1 billion in Denver. So, what's a 1981 penny worth? The honest answer is, most of them are worth face value, that's 1 cent.
Why?
Because millions were produced and they're still found everywhere in circulation. In circulated condition, meaning coins that show wear and tear from use, 1981 pennies typically hold no premium value. If you find one in your pocket or your change jar, it's probably worth just a penny. However, if you have a mint condition, uncirculated 1981 penny, especially one graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, that coin can be worth more. Uncirculated examples can fetch between 50 cents to a few dollars, depending on the exact quality, mint mark, and if they have any unique features or errors. Now here's where it gets exciting. Are there any rare varieties or errors for the 1981 penny? While the 1981 Lincoln penny doesn't have widely recognized major errors like double dies or dramatic mint mistakes, some collectors do seek out subtle die varieties, slight doubling on the date or mint mark, or off-center strikes. These error coins can sell for higher prices, sometimes ranging from $5 to over $50 if they're in great condition and certified. First, check your pennies for the mint mark. No mark means Philadelphia, D means Denver. Look closely for any doubling on the date or mint mark. Keep an eye out for coins with sharp details and no wear. Consider having coins professionally graded if you think they are in exceptional condition. And of course, always store your pennies properly, in coin flips or albums to keep them pristine. Right now, the market for 1981 Lincoln pennies is stable but low, mainly because they were so common. But remember, coins like these are an important piece of American history and can be a great starting point for any collection. Before we talk about the value of the 1981 Lincoln penny, let's take a moment to explore its rich history. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the longest-running and most beloved coin series in the United States. The story begins in 1909, the centennial year of Abraham Lincoln's birth. That year, the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln Cent to honor the 16th president, making it the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Until then, most coins had symbolic figures like liberty or eagles. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the original Lincoln penny featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse. This design was known as the wheat penny and was minted from 1909 to 1958. Fast forward to 1959, the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse was changed from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This reverse design is what you'll find on the 1981 penny. By 1981, the Lincoln cent was firmly established as a staple of American currency. That year, billions of pennies were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The 1981 penny continued the tradition of honoring Lincoln, symbolizing unity, freedom, and the enduring American spirit. Despite being common, the 1981 penny represents over 70 years of history and change in American coinage, from the early 20th century to the modern era. Collectors value it not just for its metal or rarity, but for the story it tells about America's past. And while the metal composition was still primarily copper back then, 95% copper with 5% zinc, it wasn't until 1982 that the U.S. Mint switched most pennies to mostly zinc with a copper coating due to rising copper prices. Now that we've covered the history, let's talk about something every coin collector cares about: the condition of the coin. When it comes to the 1981 Lincoln penny, condition can make a huge difference in value. Coins are graded based on how much wear and tear they show, from heavily worn to pristine. The common grading scale ranges from poor, P1, where details are barely visible, up to mint state, MS 70, which is a perfect, flawless coin straight from the mint. Good, G4, to very good, VG 8***. The coin shows heavy wear, but the main details like Lincoln's profile and date are still visible. These pennies are typically worth just their face value. Fine, F12, to very fine, VF 20***. Moderate, where with more details visible, especially in Lincoln's hair and beard. These can sometimes be worth slightly more if in good condition, but usually still close to 1 cent. Extremely fine, EF 40, to about uncirculated, -50 Australian dollars ***. Minimal wear, sharp details, and a nice shine. These coins might have a small premium and appeal to collectors looking for nicer circulated examples. Mint state, MS 60 to MS 70***. Perfect or nearly perfect coins with no signs of wear. These are usually uncirculated coins that were never used in circulation. They can be worth significantly more, from 50 cents to several dollars depending on the grade and mint mark. Professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC can certify a coin's condition, which can help you get a better price if you decide to sell or trade. If you find a 1981 penny that looks shiny and sharp with no scratches or dents, it might be worth getting it graded. But remember, most pennies from 1981 you find in your change will likely be well circulated and worth just 1 cent. Also, keep in mind the coin's mint mark, a 1981 D for Denver or no mark for Philadelphia, which can sometimes affect collector interest slightly, especially in higher grades. So, to sum up, condition is key when figuring out the value of your 1981 Lincoln penny. The better the condition, the higher the value, but don't get discouraged if yours is worn. Every coin tells a story and has its place in history. Hey there, coin collectors and history buffs. Welcome back to Unique Coin History, your go-to spot for everything coins, currency, and collectibles. Today, we're diving deep into one of America's most iconic coins, the United States Liberty 1 cent from 1980. What makes this humble penny special? And what's its current value? Stick around because you might be surprised. The Liberty 1 cent, often called the Lincoln penny, has been a staple of American currency since 1909, originally minted to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The 1980 edition carries the classic design featuring Lincoln's profile on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. So, what makes the 1980 Liberty 1 cent worth talking about? Well, first off, the coin itself is a part of the Lincoln cent series, but 1980 falls in an interesting period for coin collectors because it was minted during the transition era before the zinc core pennies came out in 1982. That means the 1980 penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, which gives it a little bit more intrinsic metal value compared to modern pennies. Before 1982, pennies were mostly copper, so their metal content was actually worth more than 1 cent during some parts of history, although melting coins is illegal, of course. Now, let's talk about the value. The average 1980 Lincoln penny in circulated condition is typically worth about 1 to 3 cents, just a little more than face value. But if you have an uncirculated or mint condition 1980 penny, the value can go up to about 30 to 50 cents, depending on the grade. grading plays a huge role in determining coin value. Coins that look flawless, with no scratches, dents, or wear, are classified as mint state and are much more desirable to collectors. Another interesting fact about the 1980 penny is the mint mark, a small letter near Lincoln's shoulder on the front of the coin. You'll typically see either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. The San Francisco coins from this year were mostly proof coins, made specifically for collectors and often have a mirror-like finish. Proof coins can be worth significantly more, sometimes up to a few dollars, depending on condition. Now, watch out for errors. Some 1980 pennies have interesting mint errors like double dies, off-center strikes, or weak mint marks. These error coins are rarer and could be worth much more, sometimes hundreds of dollars if you find one in great condition. So, if you're holding a 1980 Liberty 1 cent, here's what I recommend. Check the mint mark, inspect the coin for condition and possible errors, and if it looks pristine, it might be worth more than just a penny. You can get your coin graded professionally by services. Before we dive into the value of the 1980 Liberty 1 cent, let's take a quick look at the fascinating history behind this little coin that's been a part of American life for over a century. The Lincoln cent, often called the Liberty 1 cent, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first American coin to feature a real person, breaking away from the tradition of symbolic figures like Lady Liberty. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, a famous sculptor and engraver. Lincoln's profile on the front of the coin symbolizes freedom and unity, values that have long been central to the United States. Over the decades, the design has seen some changes, but the core image of Lincoln has remained consistent. By 1980, the Lincoln cent had become a familiar part of everyday American commerce. The coins were still made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc, which had been the standard since the coin's inception until 1982, when the composition shifted to mostly zinc due to rising copper prices. In 1980, pennies were produced at two major mints, Denver and San Francisco. The Denver Mint produced the majority of circulation pennies, while the San Francisco Mint produced mostly proof coins for collectors, known for their sharp details and mirror-like finishes. So, the 1980 penny represents the last years of the classic copper era, making it an interesting piece for collectors and history enthusiasts alike. It connects us directly to a century of American history, commerce, and culture, all packed into one small coin. When it comes to coins, condition is everything. Even pennies minted in the same year can have very different values depending on how well they've been preserved over time. Coin collectors use a grading scale to describe condition, which ranges from poor all the way to mint state or gem uncirculated. Here's a quick overview of what to look for in your 1980 penny. Most pennies you find in your pocket or on the street will be circulated. These coins have visible wear. The details on Lincoln's face and the wheat ears on the back might be worn down or smooth. In circulated condition, a 1980 penny is usually worth just face value or a few cents more. These coins show very slight wear on the highest points but retain most of their original details and luster. An 1,980 Australian dollars penny can fetch about 10 to 20 cents. Coins that show no signs of wear and look like they just came out of the mint. These coins often have sharp details and a bright shine. A mint state 1980 penny, especially with a D or S mint mark, can be worth anywhere from 30 cents up to $1 or more. Proof pennies, mostly from the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, have a mirror-like finish and crisp details. These are made specifically for collectors and can be worth several dollars depending on condition. When checking your coin's condition, use good lighting and a magnifier if you can. Look closely for scratches, discoloration, or corrosion. All of these will lower the coin's grade and value. Remember, condition can be subjective, so if you think you have a high-grade 1980 penny, consider getting it professionally graded by experts like PCGS or NGC. A professional grade can significantly increase your coin's value if it's in top shape. So, whether you find a well-worn penny or a shiny gem, knowing the condition of your 1980 Liberty 1 cent is key to understanding what it's worth. Keep those coins safe and handle them carefully.